What's up peeps? Welcome back. This is the story about what if Naruto was the greatest Senju Prodigy. Before we start, please consider subbing, liking and sharing my videos. This would really mean a lot for me. Now let's get on with the story. It is an extremely hard time for this world we live in. Hashirama Senju thought as he looked around the small village of the Senju clan with sadness. It was a war of every clan for themselves in their time, and he just wanted to protect his family. Two clans stood above all, and they were the Senju and their bitter rivals the Uchiha. The Uzumaki clan was also well known, but they were credited as the greatest Fuinjutsu users ever and were left alone due to little knowledge of how dangerous the art could be. The Uchiha were fiercely territorial and would defend their land as much as they possibly could. The only problem with them was that they held the most land off all and kept taking more. They were also a bit arrogant due to their Sharingan abilities, as they saw themselves as the best ninjas around. They were strict and forceful people to others, but they did value family as the most important thing. But even they couldn't beat Hashirama Senju's wood release. It was an oddity in the Senju clan as he was the only one to utilize such a strong ability. His clan was known as the Senju of 1000 skills, however, and it seemed like anything was possible for them. Some could use their elemental jutsu to a masterful level that many would be hard-pressed to beat, others could shoot chains out of their bodies, like the Uzumaki clan was said to be able to do, others were just masters of genjutsu or kenjutsu. Hashirama knew that both of the clans valued their family to a high degree, and he just never knew why they couldn't settle their differences. He had thought of a plan that would unite the clans and make peace for a change, and he truly wanted to accomplish this dream for his family. Hashi-kun. Are you still thinking out here? A voice called and his worries melted away at hearing that voice. It was Toka Senju, his fiancée and soon-to-be mother of his first child. They were a bit young for a child being only 15 years old each, but they would raise him with love and care. They did know, however, that they wouldn't be having any more kids anytime soon though. Hashirama just chuckles sheepishly while scratching his head. I guess I was Toka-chan. He said, and the very pregnant woman walks over to sit next to him. Any day now our son will be born into this cruel world. He said sadly while Toka patted his armored shoulder. I know, but I have faith that our boy will be strong. Stronger than even the two of us combined. Toka said softly as they rubbed her stomach happily. I think he will too, Toka-chan. He said happily while the two got lost in their thoughts under the moonlit sky. Only a few days later and their son, Naruto Senju was born into the world and his arrival was celebrated joyfully as the mother walked through their small village. The two of them knew the days would be tough, but as long as they were together, then they had faith that everything would be alright. 4 years had passed since Naruto Senju was born and he took after his parents quite a bit. He had the long flowing midnight black hair that both of his parents had and his face was firm and sharp. He was a bit tall for his age and had a strong body as well, which is something that he got from his father, but he was also highly intelligent, which both of his parents shared as well. The battles between their clan and the Uchihas hadn't let up in the least however, and they had lost more and more good men and women each day. The parents had hesitantly began his training for the future at his insistence. Naruto loved the clan almost more than anything, with only his parents being first, and he vowed to protect it with everything he had. He knew that he was young, but he also knew that war wouldn't spare the young, as some of his slightly older cousins were lost in battle. Ever since then his parents had started him on some light endurance exercises to begin with. Naruto and his distant cousin Tori Senju were out in the backyard of the Senju compound being trained by none other than Hashirama himself. The two boys were born a month apart from each other and were sparring with the basic Senju fighting styles under Hashirama's watchful eye. He saw that both had progressed quickly to the point where he knew they would be a force to be reckoned with down the road. Naruto threw a punch from Tori out of the way and sent his strongest punch into the boy's face, sending him sliding back. The boy quickly recovers and sends a kick to Naruto's head that is ducked under, but the boy jumps and spins with his momentum and roundhouse kicks Naruto to the head, sending him rolling. Naruto gets back up as well and was going to attack back when his father stopped them. Old children, you have done well and you lasted 30 minutes against each other this time. Now it is time to unlock your chakra. He said proudly while both boys perked up at that. Really? That's awesome. Tori shouted out happily as he was the more excitable of the two of them. Naruto was also shaking with excitement along with him though. Well then let's do this too, Chan. He said happily as he and his favorite cousin sat on the ground and looked to his father expectantly, which got a warm smile from him. He loved his son dearly, and to see him acting like the young boy he was, especially in this dark time, was something he cherished. Alright then, begin to meditate and focus. You should begin to feel a warm feeling and become more energized as it flows through you. He said and watched as the two boys began to concentrate it. Naruto got to work quickly as he wanted to get stronger and reach deep inside of himself to find his chakra. He found it soon, or what he thought was soon, as he was lost in his meditation and was sporting a dazed yet content look on his face on the outside as he finally unlocked his chakra. This feeling was so much deeper than what his father and described to him, and he truly felt like he was in heaven when the warm sensation flooded his body. The black-haired Senju continued to wallow in the serenity of his newly discovered chakra when he was brought out of it by the shout of his father and his cousin. "Naruto!" Hashirama shouted. That destroyed Naruto's concentration, thus letting go of his chakra as it went back into his body, though he could still feel the lingering warmth inside him. "Huh?" Naruto asked, confused, with his head still in the clouds as his father and best friend looked at him in a bit of surprise and awe. "You were overdoing it a bit there," his father said, still surprised at the sight of chakra. "I could actually see the chakra from him at such a young age. It was also like my chakra too, which the plant seemed to respond to," he thought to himself inwardly. "I did?" Naruto asked as he felt fine, even better than fine. Hashirama just shook his head, deciding that he wouldn't let his son surprise him anymore. "Your chakra was strong enough that it was visible, and unless you're just acting fine, then you also have a lot of chakra as well. Using that much should have tired you out quite a bit." "Awesome. I'll be the best ninja ever in no time then," he said happily while Tori just snorted at that. "Having a lot of chakra isn't everything in battle, you know. Besides, I'm going to be the best there ever was," Tori said confidently. "He is right, Naruto-kun, having a lot of chakra isn't everything, but it helps, and you should still be careful of chakra exhaustion," Hashirama said seriously. "It is very dangerous. In most cases, you will just knock yourself unconscious since your body will automatically shut down, but if too severe, you will die," he said more seriously than the two have ever seen him before. "I'll have to be careful then," Naruto thought to himself, but he loved the feeling of chakra and was determined to learn anything and everything he could about the most useful energy ever that most people thought was just a basic thing in a shinobi's arsenal. Naruto was more intelligent, however. He knew that chakra was more complex than that, and in time, he would master it completely. A 6-year-old Naruto could been seen wearing a black spandex suit under his own personal set of their fabled Senju armor that was a carbon copy of his father's, except his was a burnt orange color. He had a ninja strapped to his back that with a black sheath and black handle and was situated diagonally with the handle resting at the lower right of his back. He had kunai holster on his right thigh that was in the front as the sides of his legs were covered by the armor he wore. He also had a black cloth headband with the Senju symbol in orange on the front of it. All in all, he was prepared for war, which unfortunately was something that was coming right towards him. In the 2 years of his training, they had a relative amount of peace from the Battle of the Uchiha, allowing both of his parents to train him together. He had earned the right to wear the armor of his clan and was now a low-level ninja or genin, even though most of the clan thought he was better. He absorbed any information and techniques that his parents taught him, much to their silent astonishment. He learned the Senju taijutsu style and how to channel chakra to the muscles to increase their speed and strength. He had also inherited the ability to use chakra chains, as his chakra was shown to be some of the strongest the clan had ever seen. He had also learned a bit about kenjutsu, and just like the Senju style of taijutsu, he learned that quickly as well. He could also stream his chakra into the sword that he was given as his gift when he turned 5. It wasn't as effective as it could have been, as his parents haven't taught him elemental ninjutsu techniques though. He also practiced shuriken, kunai, and senbon throwing, where pressure points and kill spots were, and also some minor poison making. His parents thought he was seen as the clan's greatest prodigy, even greater than his father, that they should still wait for a while, and only taught him some non-elemental abilities like the chakra flow technique. Ninjutsu was a completely different story, however, as his mother was known to be the best of the clan, and it was not dangerous to him at all, other than for chakra depletion, and they were careful about that. She had drilled the basics into his head for a good amount of time before even beginning her first technique. This meant chakra control training to the max. He had done tree walking and water walking for hours, and then he had to do it all over again, while doing all of the hand signs as fast as he could. He also excelled in this as well, but in order to not make him arrogant, his parents never told him that he had very good control to begin with. After mastering his chakra control, which he had really enjoyed as well, he then began learning to dispel the techniques his mother would use on him. This was mostly what they focused on, as they knew the Uchiha were naturals at genjutsu, and they wanted him to be ready for that. He learned a few techniques, but he knew that genjutsu wouldn't be too effective against an Uchiha. Fuinjutsu was something that interested him a bit, and he wanted to know more, but his clan's master had told him that the Uzumaki would be better teachers that he ever could be, and Naruto wondered if he could learn from one. He also learned some medical ninjutsu as well, due to having the great chakra control that his father had. His parents also wanted him to be completely safe, so they focused on that skill a lot as well. "My son," Hashirama, now 21 years old, called out to him. "Are you prepared?" He asked softly as he was worried sick about his son being in a real battle that he may not come back from. They had gotten word that a large force was going to attack them soon and that it was going to be a large amount of people. Every able hand was going to be needed and his son had showed that he was able. That didn't stop Toka and him from worrying though. He was their only son after all, and he was a dear member of the clan, being the son of the clan head. "I'm prepared," he heard his son say to him. "I'm a bit scared though too, Chan. It's going to be alright, son. We can make it through this, but we must be careful, alright?" Hashirama asked as he kneeled down to his son and tousled his hair affectionately. "You're very brave and you're very strong. I know you'll make it through this and grow stronger." Naruto just looked up his father and smiled a bit before nodding confidently. "I'm going with Tobi to fight with Madara and Izuna Uchiha, so stay close to the others," Hashirama said sternly, showing that he was really worried for his son. Naruto stood up proud and determined, along with the rest of his clansmen who stood in a formation waiting for the Uchiha to appear. He hid his worries as best as he could, but he still fiddled with the handle of his blade every so often, but was shaken out of it when some of the men patted his shoulder and told him it would be alright. He just gave them confident smiles and nodded in respect and gratitude as he turned forward again and stopped his minor shaking. Next to him was his best friend Tori, who was also a bit nervous, but he pushed it away because he didn't want Naruto to upstage him. "You ready for this, Tori?" Naruto asked a bit teasingly as he also pushed his fear away. "HMPH, of course I am Baka and I know that I'll kill more than you, that's for sure," Tori said back to him. "Yeah right, just watch me then and stay out of the way," Naruto said, and it was really bringing the morale back up to the others around him that two young kids would act fearless. Tori was about to retort, but the Senju army then saw the Uchihas approaching quickly and they all drew their weapons. Naruto pulled his favorite sword that was given to him at a young age and prepared himself along with the others. His father and uncle could be seen in front of the army and were calming them down. "We fight for our family and nothing else is more important. Stick together and we will come out on top," Hashirama yelled to them, getting yells of agreement. "Charge." At his command, the Senju army charged as fast as they could while the two brothers went off with the Uchiha brothers. Hashirama prayed for Naruto and Toka's safety in this fight and quickly began fighting the two Uchihas. Despite being one of the youngest members to ever fight in battle, Naruto and Tori were some of the first to engage the Uchiha, surprising many at their speed. The two fighters worked together, protecting each other and fights viciously against the Uchiha and managed to injure a couple before the Senju army made it to them. Soon though the battle was in full swing and Naruto could see both sides taking losses and it broke his heart to see some of his family dying. He turned and saw a woman from his clan on the ground with a wounded leg and an Uchiha smirking at her with his sword about to be swung. He could see the scared look on the young woman's face, but Naruto really didn't want to kill anyone, but he wanted to save the woman more, so he used his chakra-enhanced speed and quickly stabbed the man through the back of his heart. Both the man and woman were shocked, but the woman was grateful to be alive and wondered who saved her. As the Uchiha fell down dead, she was even more shocked to see the young son of the Senju clan head Hashirama. She saw that he was frozen for a bit at what he had done, and he didn't see the man coming from his side to kill both of them. The woman tried to warn him but he didn't respond and the man was drawing closer. Just when he was nearing them too closely, Tori had jumped in front of them and killed the man. Tori froze up a bit too, but shook it away as he slapped Naruto in the head, finally getting his attention. "Wake up, idiot. Now's no time to be freezing up, we have to fight," he yelled at the boy, who looked at him gratefully. "I guess I was just scared. Thanks for the help," Naruto said, and he quickly began healing the woman, who was thanking both of them for saving her. Tori just smiled a bit and rushed out to help any others that he could. "Thank you so much, Naruto-sama," the woman said as she was carried away to the safety of a small, well-hidden medic camp. "It was nothing," he said as he charged back into the fight and repeating this process quite a few more times, saving many lives and getting him even more respect for his abilities. He was also seen defeating and killing other Uchihas that attacked him, but he was wounded a bit as well, and his armor was cracked and dented in some places. The clansmen and women were really worried for him, but he had healed himself so he wasn't in danger of bleeding out. Soon though, he was challenged by another man, but he was shocked to see who it was. Izuna Uchiha now stood in front of him and he didn't seem to be tired of hurt at all. Well, Hashirama's son Naruto then," the man said, not with any anger, but Naruto thought he could detect some sadness from the man. "I would like to test you a bit myself." Naruto didn't know how, but he blocked the man's sword strike with reflexes he didn't know he had, missing the man's impressed look. Naruto quickly shook any fear away and sent his attacks back as fast as he could. It was a bit frustrating that the man countered all of his attacks easily, and Naruto knew it was due to the Sharingan the man possessed. Naruto though got an idea and inwardly smirked a bit. On one of his sword strikes he channeled chakra through his blade, and when their swords clashed the chakra cut the man's cheek due to the unexpected length increase. "Wow, I didn't think you would be that advanced a chakra stream," Izuna said, honestly impressed at how well the young boy was fighting. Of course, he wasn't really trying his hardest, but he was working harder than he expected. "Well, I guess I have tested you enough. Time to end it," he said sadly, which is something the boy picked up on. He channeled some lightning chakra through his blade and easily threw Naruto's sword to the side and got wide eyes from him. He then went to pierce the boy through the stomach for a sure kill. Naruto's whole world seemed to slow down completely as he knew what was going to happen if he was hit with the sword. Something in him changed and he suddenly felt his chakra surge and he closed his eyes to embrace the feeling. What happened next got the attention of everyone around them. Spikes of wood shot out from Naruto's armor meeting the man's blade and another spike pierced the man's shoulder, getting a pained grunt from the man. It would have been worse, but the man's quick instincts kicked in and he moved out of the way. The battle almost completely stopped once they found the boy could use wood style, while the Senju were completely impressed at it. Soon though, the Uchiha converged on him, knowing that he probably couldn't control it properly. Naruto knew he couldn't beat all of them, but his clansmen jumped to his defense. Before they clashed though, a horn was blown out making the Uchihas grit their teeth and retreat. Naruto fell to his knees in exhaustion and the Senjus picked him up and roared in victory. The wounded were taken to be healed while others gathered the dead sadly. Naruto was in their hidden medic camp, healing any wounds he could and was working with people 3 times his age with the same skills. The doctors wore proud grins as they watched him work and the patients who were proud of him as well. Naruto, however, was just waiting to see his family and Tori again. He was worried about all of them greatly and he just wanted to hug his parents again. He perked up a bit when he saw his uncle and father walk in and he finished healing his patient and ran to hug them happily. "Do-chan." Naruto yelled as he began to cry a bit into his father's busted and bloody armor. Hashirama smiled happily, but it was a bit forced as well as he had some bad news. "Son, I'm so glad that you're alright. I heard about all of your great feats on the battlefield from the others as well, I'm proud of you." Naruto blushed under his father's praise. "Where is Kacchan and Tori?" he asked and tears began to form as he saw his father grimace a bit. "Tori was found dead earlier," Hashirama said and saw the tears fall from his son's eyes and he choked back his own sobs at the next piece of news. "Your mother was also found dead," he finished as his own tears fell. Naruto and the others in the camp froze at hearing such bad news and everyone's heart broke at seeing the pained look on their hero's face. Naruto didn't know what to do so he just fell to his knees and cried his heart out while his father hugged him tightly. Hashirama let a few tears fall as he held his precious son and thought about all the people they lost today. The fight was bigger than most of the others and even with his son saving many members, they still lost more than the usual small battles. He would have to talk to the Uzumaki clan and see if they could do anything for them. 3 years later, a 9-year-old Naruto was seen training with his wood-release bloodline that he had awoken in his first battle. It had taken his father some time before he agreed to help as he was really depressed at losing his wife. Naruto was sad as well, but he pushed himself into his training more and more so he wouldn't have to lose anyone else. He was also tested by a medic and found something that made every Senju excited. His wood release was so strong that it became hyper-dominant and would be passed down to all of his kids in the future. This was an incredible find, and even more incredible was that after testing Hashirama, they found that he shouldn't have been able to pass it down in the first place. Naruto was a 1 in a billion chance occurrence, and his blood changed it to be a complete bloodline. This was widely celebrated as their clan didn't have a known bloodline, only Hashirama had, and now Naruto was known as well. But the small bit of peace the large battle brought, as both sides needed to recover, Naruto trained in all of his abilities that he possibly could. He still fought in some smaller scale battles here and there, but not too many lately. His father had gotten in contact with their distant relatives in the Uzumaki clan and they had sent someone over to get closer ties. Her name was Mito Uzumaki and Naruto could admit that she was a beautiful woman. She was 18 when she met his father a few months after their battle took place. His father and spent a good amount of time with the woman, showing her around and introducing people to her. Naruto had also met her and he found her to be extremely kind and smart and he did enjoy her company. 2 years into her stay his father had officially married her. She was engaged to him from the moment she first set foot in camp, but Hashirama had told her what had happened and she agreed to wait as long as he wanted. She really did like Hashirama and found him to be very handsome and kind. She also adored Naruto and would baby him from time to time which got some chuckles from Hashirama. Naruto was just happy that his father was finally becoming more like he used to be as he changed quite a bit at the loss of Toka. He soon started training his son harder and pushing him faster than he had before, and he didn't smile as much as he once did, so he was happy that his father was happy again. In the 3 years, Naruto was trained to the max in his affinities once he learned that he had wood release. Hashirama taught him all about earth release, while Tobirama taught him all about water release, as he was the best in the clan with it. He also never stopped experimenting with his chakra as well on the side. He could now pull water from the air like Tobirama could, and he could use earth just as easily. Once he had mastered both elements, he was started on wood release training, and he loved it completely. It was so powerful and he felt more close to nature with it that he couldn't wait to train with it. He also found that he could manipulate plants as well, and not just trees and wood, something that amazed everyone else as well. Other than training in his affinities, he also trained his medic abilities to be almost the best in the entire clan, next to his father of course. He spent quite some time on it, but he was happy with his progress. He worked on his genjutsu as well as a way of honoring his fallen mother, and he spent a lot of time after the battle improving it. He could cast high-level genjutsu easily, and some of them just by look like an Uchiha could. His experimenting with chakra was being used so he could use any jutsu without any hand signs, so the Uchiha couldn't copy the techniques from him. It was this that truly shined above all of his clan, as he had the highest understanding of chakra than even his father, but he wouldn't teach others because he wanted to be unique. His taijutsu and kenjutsu were also worked on as he grew taller and stronger. He had started using a katana instead of his shorter ninja too, but he kept it with him just in case he needed it. He began to wear weights when he trained, but nothing that would stop his already impressive growth, as he now stood 5'6" at 9 years old. His muscles were developing really well, not too bulky and not too small, so his taijutsu was trained to be deadly. Once his father married Mito, it was deemed okay that she taught him Uzumaki Fuinjutsu, some Kenjutsu, and even some Uzumaki Ninjutsu as well. The Uzumaki clan was only a little reluctant, but Mito decided she would train her kids, and even if Naruto wasn't hers by blood, he was still her child. What Naruto didn't know until it was too late though, was that Mito was a slave driver. He and his clan thought that he was already really good at the art, as he picked up sealing pretty easily. When Mito came though, she showed him how far off he actually was, and Naruto and Hashirama were amazed at her skills. She quickly made him rewrite all of his kanji before she would teach him anything, stating that while good it was average for an Uzumaki. After she deemed him ready, he was then taught some basic seals and how to make other seals. It was slow-going work, but he learned a lot, and he even impressed Mito with his skills in the art, even though she was impressed enough with all this other skills. She quickly got rid of his weights and showed him the gravity seal to train with, stating that he could increase that a lot more and not affect his growth at all. That was really difficult to get used to, but he pushed through and continued all of his training. What he didn't know is that times would be changing in the coming years. Mito watches as her husband and son spar against each other while she sat on the sidelines and held their 2-year-old daughter Torika Uzumaki Senju. The 24-year-old Senju had decided that he wanted Naruto to have a sibling, and Naruto couldn't get more excited. Mito was also overjoyed that she was having her first child. Her husband had gotten closer to finally making peace with the Uchiha and had told her and Naruto about his plans. He wanted to make a united village and join other clans together and live in peace with one another. Mito would love to see that day, as her clan was already peaceful and they were sad to see the world in such chaos. Hashirama knew that the Uchiha clan was growing tired of all the fighting as well, so it was only a matter of time before they would be united. His clan had lost so much that it was just a small family now. There was him, Tobirama, Naruto, Torika, and 2 small families left of the once powerful Senju clan. It was a hard pill to swallow, but the Uchiha clan were the superior fighters overall, as they had more than 10 times as many members as the Senju clan did currently. The only thing that was keeping them alive through the fighting was Hashirama's wood release, until Naruto came around, and Tobirama's excellent water release. The other clansmen were just not as good as the Uchiha clansmen. Hashirama had sent messages out to other clans that were nearby, and he had gotten many good responses from them to also join the new united village and help end the fighting before the Senju was completely wiped out. The village would be called Konohagakure no Sado, the village hidden in the leaves, and it would be built in fire country. That is enough for today's son, Hashirama says, and they take a break. Naruto goes back to the house to rest as Hashirama sits next to his wife. Everything is coming together, Mito-chan. He said happily while Mito giggled happily as Torika looked at her father with curious eyes as Hashirama tickled her a bit. It will be an interesting transition for the clan and the world, I think. Mito said happily as Torika was taken by Hashirama, who laughed at the little girl's cute giggles. I'm going to be traveling to the location of our new village soon. It's in a large clearing, and I had plans using my wood jutsu to grow trees to surround the whole village. Plus, I could make the first houses for the people there and get some civilians to build their own homes too. he said happily as he pictured the future, and every time he pictured it, it was more and more beautiful. It took longer to make Hashirama's dream a reality than he thought, but after one more year it was done. The Uchiha clan and Senju clan had worked together and formed their village, Konohagakure no Sado. Hashirama and Mito were just overjoyed that Torika Uzumaki Senju, who is now 3 years old, would grow in a time of peace along with Naruto. Naruto and Tobirama had become the right hands to Hashirama and watched over the village as it formed, and they loved it just as much as Hashirama did. Many clans had joined the village year of waiting, some like the Aburam, Inyazuka, Nara, Akamichi, and even more. It was amazing for Naruto to socialize with all these new people, and while he still missed his lost family members, he was still happy to make new friends as well. His father had also gotten reports of other clans following their example, and soon 4 other main villages had been built, and they each chose their own cages. Other smaller ninja villages also sprout up and made their own homes, but they did not have any cages that were accepted by the rest of the world. There would be only 5 cages, 1 for each of the main elements. With the help of his wood release, Hashirama had also captured most of the tailed beasts as well, and he decided to send them to the other villages in the hopes of balancing out the power. He didn't know that it would be a bad idea until later on though. Naruto had also met a boy named Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was 10 years older than him, but they became fast friends with each other despite the age difference. He reminded him of Tori a lot, and he thought that must have been why they were such good friends. He met others like Sho Akamichi, Kinto Inyazuka, and Demura Nara, and they bonded as well. In the year of forming the village, a symbol was made to unite the ninjas under one banner, and they were engraved on metal plates and handed out as headbands to the other ninjas. The term Hokage had been created at well, and Hashirama was given the right as Shodaime Hokage, something that really irked Madara Uchiha. Naruto still trained like he used to though, and he was known as a prodigy throughout the entire village. His father had even taught him about nature chakra that he mastered with the help of his bloodline, and he thought his son could do it too because his was even more advanced. All of his other skills were also practically untouchable, but even with all of his skills, there were still problems with the village, or more closely, the Uchiha clan. Madara was angry, both because he was not the Shodaime Hokage, and also because he lost his last brother in battle to Tobirama. He grew discontent and wanted to take his clan and leave the village behind them, but his clan had disagreed with that, and they wanted to stay. Madara was then enraged, and he soon began plotting to kill Hashirama. He found the last of the tailed beasts, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and brainwashed it to attack the village, but before the pair could make it they ran into Hashirama and Mito. Their battle took place in what would later be called the Valley of the End. The battle between Madara and Hashirama was long and epic, the landscape would be forever changed, the bond between 2 men that helped found Konoha forever broken. With the Kyuubi's tailed beast ball, the ground was sunken down and formed into a very deep and long canyon. It was about 50 feet deep, and the lake that once ran through there was made into a waterfall that kept on flowing. The edges of the canyon had holes and dents all through due to the fighting as well. Mito, seeing the danger that the Kyuubi possessed, used her infinite knowledge of sealing to seal the Kyuubi into herself, making her the first ever Kyuubi Jinchuriki. From there the battle was much easier even though she had to sit out and rest. Hashirama could fight better knowing he wouldn't be crushed to death by the giant fox. The battle soon slowed down as both men stood on either side of this massive canyon, on the very spots where a few years later massive statues of themselves would be made. The two soon clashed again, and Hashirama came out on top by hitting Madara with a fatal attack. Madara was presumed dead, but his body was never found, and the guilt weighed heavy on Hashirama's conscience. Hashirama breathed heavily with a sad smile on his face. "It's over, Mito-chan, Konoha will live on with Madara's hatred snuffed, but in turn my fire dims," he said between his breaths. Mito walks up to her husband and gives him a hug. "The will of fire will always burn strong within you, my love, and with it so will Konoha and Naruto. You can lead our village to greatness, I have faith in you." Hashirama smiles weakly and looks at the massive scar that now denotes where a battle between 2 gods took place. A place that was once a lake teeming with life, now a basin with a waterfall at one end. This place will always wear the scar of the battle between us, the Valley of the End is what it will be called. This place will forever show the end of one man's hatred and the strength of one man's will, the end of a long bond between Madara and me. Mito smiles and kisses Hashirama on the cheek. "I am sorry it had to be this way, but what is done is done. Come home with me, Hashirama, and let us show others what the will of fire truly is." Hashirama turns and smiles at Mito. "You're right, I cannot dwell in the past, come Mito-chan, let's go home." The much brighter future began after their battle 1 year ago. Hashirama has let Konoha prosper and shown the elemental nations how strong the land of fire was, and with it the will of fire that each shinobi produced out of Konoha had. Another bright spot in Mito and Hashirama's life was raising their kids in what they hoped was a permanent peace. Torika was now 4 years old and followed her big brother who is now 11 years old everywhere he went because she wanted to be just like him. She had dark red hair that was pretty much maroon and was straight and had big sky blue eyes that sparkled when she saw her brother. Mito was sitting on the sofa in the family room playing with Torika at the Senju compound, listening to the coos the maroon-haired girl with sky blue eyes and tan skin was making. It made Mito's heart melt. The front door is heard opening and Hashirama's voice soon follows. "Ah, Mito-chan, I see you and Torika are enjoying yourselves." Said girl stops moving for a brief moment and looks at Hashirama, "2-chan." She yells and runs to him to hug him. "Where is Ani-chan?" She asks with a small pout as she wants to see him again. "Aw, how sweet, I think Torika wants a little more time with her big brother." Mito says with a giggle while the girl blushed and hid her face a bit. "It looks that way," Hashirama said with a laugh. "Anyway, your brother is training right now, Torika-chan," he said to her, which made her perk up. "I want to train too, so I can be as strong as Ani-chan," she said with her most determined face that just made her parents laugh at how cute she was. "You're a little young for that right now, Tori-chan." Another voice called out which everyone looked to and they all smiled. "Nai-chan." Torika yelled and glomped her big brother but pouted soon after, remembering what he said. "I'm not too young to train Nai-chan." Naruto just chuckles a bit and picks her up, which makes her squeal in happiness. "Well, I guess you can learn the basics, but only if mom and dad let you," he said as the girl then gave her puppy dog's eyes look at them, making them agree quickly. "Nothing too much though, we're in different times so there is no need to teach her too fast," Mito said sternly, getting a nervous nod from him. 3 years went by quickly and many things had changed. Hashirama had passed away, leaving his wife and children behind as they cried in sadness. Tobirama took up the mantle as the Nidaime Hokage and began to lead the village by himself. Naruto, Torika and Mito were all completely sad, but they eventually moved on with Naruto training Torika and Mito helping her as well. It took much longer for the little girl to move on as she had never experienced death, but she just got closer to her brother and focused on training. Naruto was now 14 years old and was put in charge of a new force that his uncle named the Anbu, and he was their first commander. He asked why they even made such a force and was shocked to hear that they were going to war. He took his job very seriously after that and he began to train the Anbu into shape. On top of that, he spread his father's ideals that he agreed on, to the troops and forged unbreakable bonds with all of them, and they completely respected him as their leader. Naruto knew that he was strong, but he wanted to be even better, so he began working on his already good ceiling, and he wanted to make better use of his uncle's flying thunder god jutsu, but he hasn't made much progress. He asked his uncle how he did it, but he was told it was too strong to just pass out to anyone, and Tobirama was an extremely cautious individual. This left him to work on his own without his uncle's help, and he felt that he was somewhere close. He didn't have any thoughts that using his own version would completely backfire on him at any time. "Alright, everyone gather around," Naruto called out from the center of the Anbu headquarters with a voice that was quiet but strong. So strong in conviction that the people hearing it were awed by the sound. Instantly there was a group of 30 Anbu, all with different masks on, kneeling in front of him with their heads bowed. "The First Shinobi World War has officially begun," he said grimly but with a strong voice that brought the men and women confidence, while he paced back and forth in front of his troops in his burnt orange armor. "Some of you came from clans that are used to battle, while others of you may not have experienced this type of combat. I myself had been fighting for my life since I was only 6 years old against the Uchiha," he said, and some of the Anbu were surprised that he would fight at such a young age. This only made them respect the man more and they vowed they would fight for him. Just like Naruto had said, however, not all of the ninja were part of a clan or were part of a smaller clan that could hide away from fights more easily than others. It was a different time back then, the young were not spared, they too were dragged into battle. "I saw and experienced far more than any child should have. I lost my greatest friend and even my own mother," he said as he got quieter in remembrance as his soldiers listened, completely awed by his tale. "This is not how life should be lived at all, but until something changes, this is what must be done. All I will say is the most important thing you may ever hear in your life," he began, and everyone was listening and inwardly burning his words into their brains. "The will of fire that burns in all of our hearts can never be extinguished so long as we all fight together. The family that is Konoha has inherited this very will, and it will burn in all of our hearts for the rest of time." He yelled out loud with as much power as he could muster. "It shall be passed on to the next generation and the generations that follow, and that is what makes our village, our family, so strong." He finished passionately and so strong that all of the members felt a very wind around them try to push them back a bit. The fire in all of the men and women's hearts was strengthened 100-fold at his words. "Hi Naruto-sama," they called out as one voice. "Our village is a place where every year shinobi are born, raised, grow old, fight, and die to protect their home. These people are precious to me. We share a home, we share a life, and though we may not share ties of blood, they are precious to me. They are my family, and if I do fall, then I would die happily. I am only one of a long line, I carry this title and trust for those Anbu commanders who will inevitably come after. He finished quietly with his head slightly lowered, his hair hiding his eyes. I am the first Anbu commander. He finished as he opened his eyes and showed his determination to all who looked up to him. I will follow you to the ends of time itself. One of the men called out in the Sarah mask. I will be your sword, Naruto-sama. A woman wearing a Rako mask, Otter, yelled out. Me as well. Don't forget me either. I will fight by your side. Naruto simply smiled warmly as he stood in front of the men and women he himself taught as they shouted out their thanks and loyalty to him. The war had begun and Naruto split his forces up to get the best results, sending them to assassinate generals and commanders alike. He was on his way now to what would seem to be certain death, but he didn't care. He had received word that a large force of Kiri ninja was on its way to attack a large base that he had his men capture quietly, and he knew they wouldn't be able to survive if they stayed and fought. They could easily retreat in time because he had already sent word, but that base was in a crucial position and it would help end the war quickly, so he decided that he would fight by himself. This was something that really hit the Anbu as they had come to truly admire him and his passion for Konoha, but if this was his choice, they would respect his wishes and spread his teachings to all in Konoha. Of course, he had no idea that his uncle was doing the same thing as him against the Kumo ninja and that Hiruzen would become the third Hokage. Standing in a clearing far in front of the base he was protecting was Naruto Senju, looking as imposing as ever in his burnt orange armor. He now stood a massive 6'7", and he had also changed some other things. He now wore a Konohagakure headband with the cloth being the same burnt orange color of his armor on his forehead, and the cloth was very long as it went down to his waist in the back. His armor was the same other than the black Senju clan symbol on his upper chest piece, and he still wore his all-black spandex suit under that. He now carried 4 kunai holsters, 2 strapped under his armor on each of his biceps, that were horizontal, so he could grab them easily, and had a shuriken pouch and a senbon pouch on either leg in the front, so his armor wouldn't be in the way. He still had his trusty ninja too that he just couldn't part with, and he strapped it to his left shoulder guard, and he also kept his katana that he used all those years ago also, and it was at his left hip on a black leather belt. The new addition though was a new blade that was next to his katana, and it was held up by a black sash that wrapped around his waist. The blade didn't have a sheath, so Naruto had to use the rope to hold the blade to his side by the guard on the blade. The sword itself was somewhat similar to his uncle's Raijin blade, but it was not infused with lightning, but his wood-release chakra. The sword was a large and very heavy scimitar that had a large spike on the back of the blade, followed by a smaller spike. What was different about this sword was that it was made entirely out of wood and had green tribal markings on the blade. Killing blade from Dynasty Warrior 7. He had created this blade himself after his uncle had made the Raijin blade that he infused with some lightning chakra to go with his godly water release abilities. Naruto had gotten the details from the tight-lipped man after quite some time and crafted his blade with his wood release chakra, and the Hachiman, god of war, blade was born. Of course only someone with a wood release would be able to use the blade to its greatest extent. He had used the strongest metals he could find, but with the wood chakra flowing into the blade, the two components merged and strengthened each other, but turned the blade into wood. People would think that this sword wouldn't actually cut anything due to its wooden appearance, but they couldn't get more wrong. The blade could cut through anything in its path easily, and it even had some other special abilities. Naruto could send chakra to the blade to form it into any weapon or shape he could think of, and the blade could also extend as far as he needed it to. With his vast amount of weapon skill, he literally had the best weapon for any job he could ever take. Now, in drawn-out battles where he would need all of his chakra at his disposal, having to keep changing his sword into other weapons like spears or clubs or any other weapon, and then back to sword form, would hinder him in that long run. As Naruto is a genius, he had already thought up a way to counteract this. His blade could also absorb very small amounts of enemy chakra that could be used to change the forms of his sword without him having to constantly use his own chakra. Now he would have liked to be a chakra beast and have no limit to his own chakra, but the absorption quality would only really be able to be used to change the Hachiman into different weapons, but he considered that a good enough quality. Okay, so I changed his sword qualities a little bit because he would just be way too overpowered having a sword that was the same as Kasame's and having the transforming weapon like another sword of the mist. So now he can only absorb a very small amount of chakra and it can only be used to change his sword for free instead of him using his own chakra and getting drained from it, which is still a little bit overpowered still. But oh well. In the distance were the Kiri ninjas that were coming to capture or destroy the base and take control of the war, but Naruto stood ready. He could see what looked like a group of 7 men with some other men behind them charging his way. The large group met up and stopped when one of the men stepped forward with a large blade in front of him. Well. Naruto Senju, what a surprise to see you blocking our way from winning this war. Spat the man with the giant cleaver blade. You're standing before the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and there is no way you can beat us all, so why don't you step aside? Naruto merely observed the group before him. The man in front of him wielded what he knew as the Kubikirabacho, and he seemed quite fearsome as he was around 6 feet tall with short brown hair and bulky muscles. He, like all of the other 6, had bandages wrapped around their necks and wore the Kiri headbands. Another man had the Samahata and had blue skin and gills on his neck. He had dark blue hair and also had bulky muscles. The next man was tall and slim looking and had wild brown hair that was all over the place. He used the Nabari. The man who was much shorter than the others and was bald had the Kabudaari, but it wasn't really a sword but a hand axe and mallet connected by a chain. The next person had the Shibuki and was also bulky but was also a bit more heavy set than the others and he had dark red hair. The next person seemed the most normal as he was tan, was an average size, and didn't seem as bloodthirsty as the others, and he had the Kiba blades. The last of the blades was given to another normal-looking man, but he looked as bloodthirsty as the others, and he wielded the Hiramekure. Behind those 7 stood a small group of Kiri ninjas, who were all smirking at him, as if thinking he would be an easy target. Well, I'm not going to let you get past me, so I guess we're at a stalemate then. Naruto said, making the swordsman smirk even more. Oh no. All we have to do is kill you, and we'll be able to capture the base and kill the Konoha dogs inside of it. Spoke the blue man as he and the others drew their swords. Naruto narrowed his eyes a bit and took out the Hachiman blade and watched as the regular Kiri ninjas started to laugh at him for having it. What the hell are you thinking bringing a wooden sword to a battlefield? Spoke one of the regular Kiri nin as he and the others laughed at him, but the 7 swordsmen merely studied the blade as they also had some weirder blades, so they wouldn't judge his. Whatever, just kill him. Spoke the wielder of the Kubikirabacho as the group of around 20 other Kiri nins charged past the swordsmen as they rushed to beat the man in front of them. Naruto calmly held his blade in front of him and then he charged into the group. Scanning the men for holes in their form, he quickly struck. The man who laughed at his blade first held a longer one-sided kunai that was made for hand-to-hand uses and the 2 clashed blades. The man was surprised though when the wooden blade didn't splinter or break at all and was even more surprised when the man avoided one of his comrades with a swift duck, pushed him back with pure strength alone and then cut him in half at the waist, freezing his shocked look on his face. Naruto then blocked an attack from his right and ducked another strike from his left while slashing out with his blade at a man charging at him from the front. His sword took the man's head clean off and Naruto then spun as fast as he could and stabbed the man he was blocking before through the heart. He then widened his eyes as water bullets were shot at him from the man who had jumped over him and he quickly called up a strong earth wall behind him with one hand sign. The wall easily withstood the water bullet and by now the other living Kiri nin were getting worried. Naruto didn't let them capitalize though and he quickly charged forward and thrust his blade out. Just the men were going to comment on him not even being close to them, the sword lengthened into a spear and pierced the man's head. Reforming his blade quickly, he spun again and cut another man in half and slashed out the next 2 in quick succession. 4 more men charged in from each direction with a sword in hand. Naruto, however, maintained even breaths and as they got closer he jumped into the air, knowing that other ninjas would be targeting him with jutsus, but he pulled out 4 kunai and threw them into each of the ninjas' heads. He then saw 2 more water bullets coming from each side of him and he quickly created a water dragon, surprising all the ninjas in the clearing as he had no water source. His water dragon coiled around him and absorbed the water bullets and then shot the absorbed water bullets out, killing 2 more men before the dragon itself shot out and struck down 3 more ninjas who were still in awe of his abilities. The 4 remaining ninjas were shacking and fried at this man's ability and were about to retreat when Naruto appeared before each one and took their heads clean off. The 7 ninja swordsmen were highly impressed by this man's skills. They would admit that a few were even a bit worried of fighting him, but they had a mission to do. Impressive, we might just have a good fight after all. Spoke the shorter man with the Kabudaari as he moved forward to take the lead. He was confident because his weapon was said to be able to break through any defense and he was interested in testing it out. The man flew through the clearing at an impressive speed and the 2 warriors clashed in the middle. Just as the man was going to hit his weapon with his mallet, he was kicked in the stomach and sent flying into a tree, getting a grunt of pain from him. Naruto then leaned to the side as the extremely thin Nabari flew past his head and he blocked the man's kick with the flat of his blade, which slowly started draining his chakra and made to cut the man in half vertically when the Kubikirabacho came towards his head, forcing him to jump backwards. The Nabari wielder drew his sword back and eyed Naruto carefully, not yet realizing his chakra could be absorbed. His sword is definitely strong and unique. After we're done here, it should be good enough for us to have another member. he said, still trying to sound cocky and to get his opponent to get angry. Naruto wasn't just any ninja however and didn't show any reaction while he still planned out his next moves. Well, this battle isn't going so bad and the absorbing quality of the Hachiman blade isn't strong enough to be detected right away, letting me steal small amounts of chakra and getting to change my sword as many times as I want. He thought proudly that his creation was working perfectly. Oh, then let's see how his blade stacks up to mine. The Samehada wielder said as he charged Naruto, shaking him out of his thoughts as he ducked under his first strike and went to cut his head off, but he was blocked, but this time it was the Shibuki with paper bombs already set to go off, and his eyes widened in shock just as the explosion went off. That wasn't so bad. The man said as the other members began to search for the blonde, but they were shocked to hear an agonized scream, and they looked to see a wood spike stabbing the holder of the Nabari through the chest, ending his life. And then there were 6. Came Naruto's voice as the other men were forced to jump away, but the Kiba blade holder was next to go as Naruto threw kunes at him which were blocked, but he appeared behind the man and sent his blade through his chest before any of the others could stop him. 2 down, 5 to go. Naruto said a bit mockingly as the other men grit their teeth in anger. Naruto seemed to be fine, but his armor had cracked a bit and his right arm was cut pretty deeply, but Naruto just healed it up quickly, making the rest of the men widen their eyes at his vast array of skills. Naruto then jumped back, avoiding the Haramekure that was in the shape of a long spear, and he struck out at the Samehada wielder and clashed blades in a short display of strength. He then jumped back and spun to attack the Kubikirabacha wielder and managed to cut the man's chest quite deeply, but not enough to kill him right away. He then launched a roundhouse kick to the head of the Kabutoari wielder, sending him flying into the Samehada wielder, buying him some more time, and he transformed his blade into a Guandao, and he spun it quickly in a circle to block a strong water blast, and he quickly knocked the Shibuki user away with the butt of the staff, and spun and slashed the Haramekure user through both eyes, blinding him and forcing him to the ground. Jumping to the right, he then sent his Guandao in a thrust to pierce the Samehada user, but his weapon was kicked aside by the Kabutoari user, but he kept hold of his weapon and returned it to its blade form. Finally, a stalemate began as both sides were getting tired from the fighting. This is going to take me too long and I'm getting a bit tired from fighting these guys. Naruto thought to himself as they had been fighting for 3 hours now and the remaining 7 swordsmen had begun to truly respect his swordsmanship and his bravery. Well, you're much better than we thought you were, killing our Kiba user, Nabari user, and our Haramekure user, who had bled out. Spoke the Samehada user, who appeared to be the best off of the other men because of the Samehada's ability to restore his chakra and heal him. I congratulate you on your success so far and I promise you will be well known after this as a great swordsman, but you still have to die. Spoke the Kubikirabacha user as he began to respect the man's skills. You're all quite skilled as well and you work pretty well together as well. Not many would be able to last very long against me, and I'm sure news of your skills will be spread around. Naruto said with respect as well, but he was beginning to start with the Hiraishin Jutsu, even though he didn't know if it was complete yet. He had already put the marker on all the members in front of him, and he hoped it would work correctly. Well, here goes nothing, he thought as he used the technique. What happened though was nothing like what he expected at all. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the story. If you did, please like the video. Also consider subscribing and sharing this with your friends. This will really mean a lot for me. I'll see you in the next one.